Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm gas flowing a Ford CVH cylinder head for XR2 for a customer that I met when we raced at KNOCKHILL in Scotland. He's been following the channel and reached out and said that he wanted us to do a CVH head for him. So he lives around the corner from KNOCKHILL when we raced. Nice guy called Alan. Yep, so he met us there with the cylinder head and a list of jobs, and now it's time to get it done. I was planning on taking the head back to KNOCKHILL to him because our second event was going to be there, but unfortunately due to lack of entries, KNOCKHILL got cancelled for us, so I've got to post it. So this is the cylinder head how we've taken it in. So it's completely standard port, standard front pulley. It's on hydraulic followers. And what I'm going to do is completely strip it. I don't need to worry about washing the springs and the hydraulics and the front pulley because they're going to get replaced. Everything else we're going to wash. I'm going to mark my gasket lines out. He's also sent down an inlet manifold to put it onto bike carb, so I've got to port that to, or match it to the ports. So I'll do that with a gasket because there's a funny bend in it. I'll show that in a moment. And that's the bottom of it. So first job is to get it stripped. So I'm stripping it, and what I'm doing now is what I've done now is I've been and got all the tools that I need to strip it. First one being a 13mm socket, because I'm going to undo these cam followers first, and then I've got a wash tin for the bits that I need, and then I've got a cardboard box for the bits that are just going back to my customer. So these are a flanged nut, but the top two flats, or two of the flats, are squoze in because it's also a lock nut. There's probably a flash name for that, but I don't know what it is. So we need these, we're going to reuse these. Right, now there are all 8 of them. This is the cam follower. This is a little swivel bracket. So what this allows is the cam follower to go nice and tight but pivot, and then it has a little spacer at the bottom so it spreads the load at the bottom as well, which sometimes it kind of, the old oil sticks that in, so might have to get a magnet for that. So we've got 8 of these to take off, and then what I'm doing is, as I'm taking them off, I'm also checking the pads where they pivot inside there, and then the 2 pads where they touch the hydraulic follower and the valve stem. Then these hydraulics, they don't look that old actually, but we're converting it to a mechanical follower, so all of these can go in the cardboard box. So that's the 13mm socket all done with. The next thing I'm going to do is de-stud it. So for this I'm using, this is a proper stud extractor, but it's an impact stud extractor. So if you try and use this by hand, it's not that very good, but when you use it with an extractor, it does the job really well. And because it's impacting it off, it actually doesn't damage the threads either. Now I'm not going to screw these back in, so these can go in the box as well. The inlets have got dry Loctite. This blue, like powdery stuff, is dry Loctite, so that's why that one was tight coming out. There's a waterway on this inlet side in the middle, what feeds the inlet manifold, so these 2 studs are normally quite tight. So all I'll do is I hold it until it grips the stud, and then that's it. Same on the exhaust side. So we need the bolt for the new vernier that's going to turn up, but we don't need the original pulley because that's going to get upgraded to a vernier. The new cam might not come with the woodruff key in there, so I'm going to keep that in the cam so I don't lose it, but we might have to take that out when the new one turns up. So now, to stop the cam moving on its end float, it's these 8mm socket bolts here. And then the 8mm bolts also hold in this thrust plate. So I'm going to check the thrust plate, but it's fine, there's no wear on it. So we need to reuse that. And then also the 2 bolts that lock the thrust plate. So now, apart from taking the valves out, I just need to get these washers off, because these will come off in the wash and they won't get lost because they'll only go in the filter trap, but it's easier to just try and get them off than trying to fish them out the filter trap. And then a CVH cylinder head normally has a conventional valve stem oil seal and a spring seat underneath the spring. Oh, the camshaft can come out now. So this just slides backwards. This will only go one way because the front journal is smaller, so you can't get it out, because when the big one tries to come out, it jams up basically. It can't fit. So this comes out this way, which if you was doing a cam swap in situ, you take the distributor out and you can get it out, where if it was that way it would hit the inner wing. So that's the original cam, which is actually worn. That rear number 8 is worn quite bad. I mean, all of them don't look great, to be fair. Number 1's quite bad as well. But we can't throw that away in case we need the woodruff key. So I'm going to put that with the box of bits as well. And like I say, when I send it back to my customer, I'm going to give him all his bits back as well. Right, so the next thing is to take the valves out. So I use my air valve spring compressor, and then I need a magnet. So the collets are quite big on the CVH, so I'm going to use that, and then I can wash the collets as well. So I'll get a little lever bar and take this camshaft oil seal out. Screwdriver here. So if I just put that in there and give that a tap, that's the seal out. So as the pressure builds up in the compressor, it allows this air valve spring compressor to compress the spring more, and now we can get the collets off. So there's 2 collets per valve, and they're tapered, and the valve has a groove, or multiple grooves, which locks the retainer, and the retainer locks the spring. So there's the 2 collets. There's the valve spring, and there's the valve. So how it works is, at the bottom there would be the cylinder head or the valve spring seat, and then it has the retainer, and then the 2 collets lock it all together. So it's basically like that, but compressed. I know most of you probably know that, but I thought I would just share what it looks like and how it works for the people watching that just don't know, basically. So yeah, that's how the valve stays in and stops falling, and that's tapered, and the two collets have got a taper to them. As I'm taking the valves out, I'm also seeing if there's any clay in the guides, in case we have to put guides in it, but so far so good. Now what the CVH is actually very heavy on the valve train, because the valve is quite long, it's quite heavy as well. But what happens is where the oil can sit around here, there's not really a very good oil return for this part of the cylinder head, so the oil just sits there and it makes the stem seal go rock hard. So this valve stem seal is just completely, like, really hard, so they're no good. This is the old setup. So the old setup is a separate spring seat with a stem seal on top of it. Now when the stem seal is old and goes hard, it doesn't sit on the valve guide too good, and then it basically follows the valve up and down, and it's like an umbrella, and it literally pumps the oil into the cylinder, which causes them to smoke. So once again, these parts aren't needed. You shouldn't be able to, like, I'm using my fingers to remove these stem seals, and you really shouldn't be able to do that. And then I'm also looking on the valve. There is, on the valve here, you can see there's the polished bit where the valve's seating, and then it's black where it's burnt, so the valve isn't seating around there. So I can put my tools away that I've used to strip this cylinder head. Next thing for the cylinder head is for me to mark the gasket faces and then plan on porting it. We're moving on. So I've got it on my bench, ready to port. I'm actually getting a new one of these benches designed and made at the moment, so hopefully it won't look so doggy. I've had this for probably 20 years now, so it's a bit worse for wear. We threw it together years ago. It's done its job, but yeah, hopefully new bench soon. So I'm starting off with the inlet. I've marked my inlet ports. You can't really see it, but I've got a nice scribe mark around there for the gasket. That's the date of the cylinder head, so this was made on the 28th of January 1982. I've put in my initial burr that I'm going to use to start to get my shape. That's some grease there ready to keep the burr clean. And yeah, I'm going to go and set the tripod up and we'll start moving some metal out of it. So my camera went flat, but I've got the cylinder head all ported and polished, so I'm going to just show you the finished porting in the gas flowing room. I've still got a few little bits to just neaten up on it. Put a torch down there so you can see in it. And then I've gone all around the combustion chamber. There was a sharp edge in the combustion chamber, so I've blended that out, done all in the exhaust, got rid of all the lip in the exhaust just on this part of the seat. I've kept the short turn radius good on the exhaust and on the inlet, made sure there's no edges there, just rounded it off real nice and neat. Tied it up around the guide so the gases can flow around the guide really well. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to clean out all the guides and then put a nice 3-angle seat on there. I'm going to put a real nice blended edge into the port, then the seating angle, and then another blend into the combustion chamber. But I'm happy with that. So a CVH cylinder head is a little bit trickier to cut the seat on because it's a compound valve angle cylinder head. So luckily with the Myra it can move and pivot all the way round. So the first thing that I'm going to do is find a pilot that fits the guide real snug. You don't want it to be tight in there, but you don't really want any play in there as well. So that there is wobbling around a fair bit, so that's no good. We need a bigger one. Next one. Getting that. It's quite a good fit, that one, but we'll try the next one up. Yeah, next one up's too big. So this has a little grub screw that holds it into the head of the Myra. And then in the Myra at the moment is a straight 45 cut, which I must have used on probably a standard cylinder head. And I don't want that on this one. It's got to be a multi-angle. So I'm just going to undo the lock screw for that. Find the right cutter that I want. I'm going to give it a 1.5mm seat. I'll check that my cutter's nice and sharp, which it is. And then I'm plotting with this tool here where I want my angle to be on the cutter. So wherever I want it on the valve is where I put it on the seating part of the cutter, so the middle angle. And then just double check it. Perfect. And then I'm zeroing the machine because I want to set the servo so it's bang up in the middle. And then gently put the seat cutter down to the cylinder head. I want it so it's just off the seat. Lock the magnet and start the self-centering process. And then what I'm looking for is 3 angles to appear, but the main one, the important one, is the centre angle. Once I've got the centre angle, I stop cutting. And then reset the machine. Check my seat, it's looking perfect. Move on to the next one. Make sure the bed of the machine's clean, make sure there's no swarf on the cutter or in the guide, and there must be because it didn't want to go in nice and easy. So a quick brush out. Once I've done this, the next job is to skim the cylinder head, prep the gasket surfaces, and then recon the valves. So what I've already done is shot blasted the valves. So I've cleaned up where the collets go, I've cleaned up at the back of the head of the valve, I've cleaned up the face of the valve, and then what I've got to do is just reface it to give it a new fresh angle on both inlet and exhaust. So what I'm going to do now is swap the head over. So I've done all the exhaust, I'm going to move it over to the inlet. Nice cup of tea, made the way I make it, not Sam's way. Oh, that's nice. So we've got a nice bottom angle, seating angle, and then blending in the combustion chamber. No sharp edges. And I've blended it all in. Right, so what I'm going to do now is give it a reface. I'm going to take about 20 thou off it because I've taken material out where I got rid of the sharp edges in there, and I want to up the compression for him because I put the cam in it. So the next job is to give it a reface. There we go, that's the head surface finish. This is oil that I put on what's flicked across, but it looks pretty perfect to me. I don't know what the camera's picking up, but you'll see it more when it's washed. Next thing I'm going to do is clean the manifold faces, rocker cover, thermostat housing, exhaust and inlet. Well, that's this CVH Gasflowed. I've cut all the seats, I've give it a skim, and I've put it into my high pressure cleaning system now, so I can just make sure it's been through the hot wash for about 3 hours, but I just want to get this high pressure one now to get through all the waterways, get down the camshaft tunnel, make sure it's all looking nice and clean. So I'll give this screen a blow off, but that's all done in there now. It's removed the last little bit of dirt that was down there. In fact, actually I can see a bit more down here, which I'm gonna remove. It's not touched that too good actually. I don't want to put it down on its head face, but there's a couple of bits down there that I need to try and get off. Yeah, that's better. And there we have it, that's that all cleaned up. Probably getting a bit of interference off the LEDs in there actually, so I'm not going to film no more in there. I'm going to take it out now, and I've got to finish reconditioning the valves, so I'll show you those. They've been through the shot blaster, and I've got to polish the stem and give them a reface, but the actual face of them is cleaned up really nice and behind there, so I'm going to polish the stem now and then give them a reface, vac test it, and then start the reassembly process. So these are the CVH exhaust valves, and I've shot blasted the inlets and the exhaust. I've polished the stems, and now I'm refacing them. And you can see there's a little groove on there, so I'm going to get rid of that right now. So that's that one sorted out. Once again you can see the lip there, and it's worn into it. You could just start to see the lip disappearing, and that's a good face now. So I'll carry on with these. So the CVH is getting there. I'm just waiting for the cam to turn up, what my customer's sorted, and I'm going to grind the valves in quick, give it a final wash, and then start to assemble it. So the valves are all ground in and it's had its final wash, so it's time for assembly now. Sam's giving me grief about an iPhone. He wants me to buy one and I won't do it. I can't buy an iPhone.
You've got the same saw as what the phone as what a dinosaur had. That's me. And with the world's worst ringtone. I guarantee a lot of people that watch them videos hear your phone ringing in the background and think, why don't you change its ringtone?
Okay, poll, if you've heard my phone ringing in the background, do you like my ringtone or not?
Stupid.
It's taking the mickey out of my phone. Right, so at the start of the video when I stripped it, I showed you the old style stem seal, which is a normal stem seal like that, and it uses this spring seat. Now what happens is these go rock hard, as this one is. It ends up coming off the guide and causes it to basically pump oil into the CVH engine. So we get rid of these, get rid of this setup, and we go for this setup where the stem seal is built onto the spring platform, and then this is one of the upgraded springs for the cam, and then that sits across there like that. So basically the stem seal can never pop off because it's held down with the spring. So I'm going to push all these on, get the valves in and get it built. So that's the springs and the valve stem seals all in place now. Everything's nice and clean. I've put the camshaft oil seal in because the cam comes in this way. So we've got the new camshaft. This is a Newman camshaft, which my customer specifically asked for. So I'm going to oil that up and then fit that. And then basically it's the reverse of how it comes apart. So it's the these little things here, the new followers, but I'll go through those in a minute. I'll just get this bit filled up and then I'll go through the rest. So I'm just setting the valve clearance. So I'm just setting the valve clearances on the CVH. I'll show you what they are. Instead of them being hydraulic like the ones we took out originally, which are there, so they have a hydraulic adjustment, but these have a tendency of, if you rev the car really hard, it jacks the oil out of it, and then the engine's rattly for half a minute until the hydraulics pump back up with oil. So if you're going to be revving them quite hard, an upgrade was to convert them to a mechanical follower, which these are mechanical followers. So what all that's happened is it's got a thread in there and then a lock nut, and then these just adjust to set the valve clearance. It's a bit fiddly because you have to keep taking them out, adjusting them a little bit, taking them out, adjusting them a little bit, but you soon get used to it. What I do is I get it where I've got a gap, measure the gap, and then measure the distance from the bottom of the follower to the adjuster, and then if I want to give myself a thou, I then just adjust it. Well, it doesn't work out to be a thou because of the rocker ratio, but that's how I do it. The CVH is all done now, so I'm just going to show you that. It's all fully ported on the inlet and exhaust. 3-angle seats, all the valves are ground in to the seat as well. I've polished the combustion chamber up. I've took, I think I took 20 thou off it, I can't remember, about 20 thou to up the compression slightly. All the exhaust port is ported. I've cleaned up all the gasket faces, so the exhaust, the inlet and the rocker cover face and the thermostat face. If I just turn it around, so my customer wanted to use a Newman camshaft, so spoke to Ken at Newman Cams. He sent me through one of his camshafts. My customer also wanted solid followers instead of hydraulic followers, so we've got them, and we've got heavy duty valve springs as well, and then a vernier pulley. I've set all the valve clearances for him, but he will need to, once it's ran and settled, he will need to just run through the clearances again. But I'm going to box that up now. I've got to send this to Scotland. My customer Alan, like I said, we met him at KNOCKHILL. He's been watching the channel. So we've got a good crate to put it in. I'm going to cover it in bubble wrap, then cover it in shrink wrap, and then put it in the crate with his inlet manifold and his gaskets, and get it sent up to Scotland. So that's the end of this CVH video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it and you want one doing, feel free to send us a cylinder head. We could do the same treatment as what that's had done to it. If you could give us a like, please, and hit the subscribe button and the alert bell at the bottom if you want to see more content from us. And that's it. Thanks a lot, guys. See you on the next video. Ta-ra.